Oh, man, come on, get it. Hurry. Oh, damn, what is this? What is going on? Just go back. Yeah, that's more like it. This is the Short Sports Show with your host, Daniel Short. Oh, really? That's what I'm going to get? Welcome to the Short Sports Show. I am your host, Daniel Short. Today is Wednesday, September 21st, 2016. And again, we've got another jam-packed show. College football, the NFL. Lots of news to talk about. Lots of stuff to cover and recap from this past week. Of course, we got college football week 3 action with some big games. Alabama, Ole Miss, Louisville, Florida State. We'll talk just a little bit about that, as well as looking ahead in this season. Is it time for the Chicago Bears to move on from Jay Cutler? I mean, it's a question that has been asked probably over the past couple of years for Bears fans, and now it's looking more and more like, they should. We'll talk about that as well. And we also have, for next week's show, we got a brand new advertising. I'm excited for this one. This one's going to be awesome. But of course, we got InnerGrind. We have Tongue FM. You guys if you haven't already, need to download Tongue FM. It's a podcast player designed to help you discover the best podcasts. With Tongue, you can get a feed of what your friends are recommending. You can share clips of podcasts on Twitter and Facebook. Again, that's TUNG.FM or search Tongue FM on the App Store. It is absolutely awesome. Been already using it, listening to a few of my podcasts. Well, not mine specifically, but a few others that I do like to enjoy. Of course, college football news. As always, we're going to go first with some quick hits. Going to do this rapid fire. Some quick news about the college football. Then we're going to talk about some of the rankings that came out for the AP poll this week. And then, of course, recapping some games. And then making our predictions, which last week, I think we only got one wrong. So, a lot better from the past couple weeks. A lot better. We're getting there. We are getting there. NFL-wise, a few teams, I think I got 3 wrong. So, we're okay. We're all right. But, of course, college football, Florida will be without their starting quarterback, Luke Del Rio, for Saturday's game at number 4 team, Tennessee. Now, Del Rio sprained his left knee against North Texas, but apparently started some controversy as well because they thought it was a dirty hit on him. Now, it's not believed to be season ending. He's just going to miss this week, possibly the following week. After trips to Tennessee this weekend and Vanderbilt on October 1st, Florida returns home to face LSU on October 8th. So that's really what they're looking for, is him to return on October 8th. And it's just, I mean, if you look at the games that we have this week, I'm shocked at College Game Day. I'm not really shocked because of the SEC bias that ESPN loves to give. I was just, it's not the most entertaining, especially now that, and they knew that Luke Del Rio was going to be out. And so now you're going to have a backup quarterback for Florida who already has a terrible offense going against Tennessee, which, who knows how good that game's going to be. When you have games like Wisconsin, Michigan State, you have Georgia versus Ole Miss. I mean, I'm just throwing out games that are going to be better. Let's see, who else do we have? LSU, Auburn, maybe. Oklahoma State, Baylor. Stanford, UCLA, Arkansas, and Texas A&M. At Jerry's World. I mean, all these games are Washington against Arizona. Houston against Texas State. I mean, come on now. There are a lot, Penn State, Michigan. There are a lot more better games that are on that would be getting more ratings and much more to talk about, much more entertaining than a boring Florida team, which dominant defense, by the way, but just a boring offense against Tennessee, who's just as boring. I mean, that's College Game Day. It's terrible. Tennessee also lost one of their players. The standout cornerback Cam Sutton will miss, quote, an extended period of time after sustaining an ankle injury early in Saturday's 28-19 win against Ohio. Really? Just a small victory over Ohio. And this could be bad for him because he decided to turn down the NFL draft last year and was projected as a second round pick, and has now said, obviously said he was going to come back, and it's going to miss an extended period of time. Now the next few games for Tennessee, obviously they have Florida this week. Then they go on the road to Georgia and Texas A&M, 2 big games that Tennessee must win to keep their SEC championship hope alive. Sutton, he started all 41 games in his collegiate career. He had an interception, 6 pass breakups, and 2 forced fumbles in 2015 after recording 3 interceptions in 2014. Cal running back, this is something that some of the coaches, Coach Yock, there you go, wanted to talk about with the Texas Cal game. And Cal's running back, Vic Inwer, I believe that's his name, appeared to score the game-sealing touchdown with 1 minute and 22 seconds left, but replay showed that he dropped the ball before crossing the goal line, which, real quick, we've seen it many times. It happens usually about once or twice a year, right? To games that are, FBS games, right? Once or twice a year, we'll see that, come on, man, whatever, it'll happen. I've never seen it happen 3 times in one day, in 1 week. There was, and of course I can't name them. There's Cal, wasn't there a Clemson and someone else? I'm not talking about the South Carolina State player who thought he called fair catch in the end zone and didn't. Not that. I'm talking about actually dropping the ball before, was it the Ohio State Oklahoma game? I don't know. Anyways, it happened multiple times in one day, in 1 week. It's terrible. And then apparently Texas safety Dylan Haynes picked up the ball a short time later, but apparently not quick enough, according to Big 12 referee Mike Duffy. After consulting with the replay official in the booth, it was ruled that Haynes' recovery did not meet the standard of, quote, immediate recovery, and possession was awarded to Cal at the 1-yard line, which Cal was then able to kneel down and run out the remaining time because Texas had no more timeouts. This is what Duffy said, quote, "The ruling on the field was a touchdown, which replay determined that there was a fumble at the 1-yard line. The ball rolled into the end zone, came to rest. Cal players ran past it, and many Texas players ran past it. I think it was 14, which is Haynes, that picked up the ball and handed the ball to the official," end quote. It was a judgment call for the replay official. That's what Duffy had to continue to say. And he went on to say as well, he was ruling that there was a time element that constituted no immediate recovery. Therefore, by rule, the ball goes back to the team who had last possession at the 1-yard line. Well, Texas honestly should have got the ball back. They should have. Now, that doesn't mean that Texas was screwed out of a victory, because there's no guarantee that this team would go 99 yards all the way down, or actually would it be at the 1? So 99 yards downfield in 1 minute 22 seconds with no timeouts. Now, college football, that's a lot of time for a high up tempo offense. That's a lot of time. But Texas is still young to this up tempo offense. Shane was a little shaky in the game. Play calling was questionable, especially towards the end of the game. There's no guarantee that that Texas would have been able to drive down the field and win this game. But it definitely, to be screwed out of a chance is something to be frustrated about, and many Texas fans were. But Cal ultimately gets the victory. And all I was going to say about Texas, you guys know I've been riding Texas all preseason and going into the season the past few weeks, saying how they didn't deserve to be ranked at 11. That's all I wanted them was to be in the 20s, because that's where I believe they should be this whole time. I know beating Notre Dame was a good win, and Notre Dame's a good team, but they showed many, many flaws, and to jump from unranked to 11 was just ridiculous. I get the historical brand of Texas, the prestige, the ratings, the money that networks get with Texas being back up there in the ranks is what ultimately pushed them. It was just frustrating to see that, because rankings are supposed to, even though we shouldn't care about rankings, but as media, that is our job, to care about rankings. And to see Texas get that kind of treatment was just a little ridiculous. And then, of course, All I wanted them to be in the 20s because I believe that's where they should be. Once they play, they got a bye week this week to help fix that defense. Vance Bedford might be fired. Charlie Strong already came out and said that, quote, he has other assistants, end quote, that could call the plays on defense. So that could be something where we see Vance Bedford get fired because the secondary is absolutely terrible at Texas, which really the defense for Texas should have been the strong suit of this team going into the season with Malik Jefferson and all these young guys having experience from last year and getting obviously older. These guys should have been the ones holding it down. They have not so far. They have a bye week this week. They go on the road to play at Oklahoma State next week, which should be a really good game because Oklahoma State and Baylor go on this week. And if Oklahoma State can get that victory, they're back up there in the rankings. And then you got a good matchup with Texas and Oklahoma State. And then the following week, I know I'm looking ahead here, but then the following week you have the Red River rivalry. Obviously, Oklahoma, their season is over with as in terms of playoffs and national championship. Now they go against Texas, who, if they're undefeated at that time, going to be up there in the rankings once again, or not undefeated, but beating Oklahoma State, good team. Might be something there. It's going to be a good game. We already talked about it last week, my little rant. Wide receiver Tre'Davian Dixon, a member of the 2016 recruiting class who opted to transfer from Baylor to the Houston Cougars in wake of Baylor's sexual assault scandal, is no longer with the Cougars football program, according to the Houston Chronicle. Because Dixon had enrolled at Baylor in January and participated in spring practices, he had to sit out the 2016 season after deciding to transfer in June. But Houston, however, had applied for a waiver in August that would have allowed him to play immediately. No reason was given on why he has left the program. He is no longer on the roster and no longer enrolled at the University of Houston. So where he goes, he was a great wide receiver. He was an ESPN 300 recruit out of Navasota. He was dominant. He was really good, and I was hoping TCU would get him. Obviously, that didn't happen. He goes to Baylor, then we just talked about going to Houston, and now he is gone. It looks like there are some other issues because I don't know why you would leave Houston at this point right now, especially with the offense, Tom Herman, everything going for Houston. Why would you leave, especially when there's a chance you still could have played this year? I mean, where else do you want to go in the state of Texas? I mean, he was committed to Texas before switching to Baylor. So maybe he's wanting to go to Texas. And since he couldn't transfer to any Big 12 school after leaving Baylor, he did enroll at Houston. Maybe that rule goes away now. And now he's able to transfer to Texas. Maybe that was the whole plan. I don't know why you just want to go to a community college and then transfer. Some of these kids, man, and I say kids, and I'm like the same age as them, or a year older, or a year younger, but they just don't think. They just don't think. Back to Texas, I guess we'll talk about quickly, even though we just did. Actually, we won't. Other than saying that Strong said that him and the coaches are to blame for the Cal's 50-point, 500-yard performance on him. I did not say whether changes or what changes would happen. He's planning to involve defensive coordinator Vance Bedford. Defense will get fixed. That's what he continues to say. Again, they play October 1st at Oklahoma State, which will be a good game. Let's see who else. Oh, this one. Funniest story of the week and also stupidest story of the week, ladies and gentlemen. Right here. Baylor interim head coach Jim Grobe. Now, I'm not taking a shot at Baylor, but this was just stupid by Jim Grobe. He said Monday that not only does he not know if former Bears player Shawn Oakman was in the team's locker room at Rice last Friday, he doesn't even know who Shawn Oakman is. And here's the problem. Shawn Oakman was one of the players that was indicted in July by a grand jury on charges of second-degree felony sexual assault. So you would think coming in, he knows what's happening with the program, and he would know some of the players that were involved, at least the names of them. But the thing is, it's kind of hard to not know who Shawn Oakman is, even if you're not a Baylor fan. You don't even have to know about Baylor, but you know that meme of Shawn Oakman when he had the crop top and the visor and the chrome helmet, not the gold helmet of Baylor against Michigan State, and everybody was making memes about it. Also, Shawn Oakman is 6'9". How do you miss a 6'9" person? I don't understand that. But the main thing is, how do you not? That shows your stupidity towards, or your arrogant, whatever you want to call it, of not knowing who Shawn Oakman is and what was happening at Baylor, because he was one of the players involved. You should have known, right? You're coming into this program, helping the morale until you're gone after a year. But this is what he went on to say, quote, "I really have no idea. I don't know who Shawn Oakman is. I wouldn't be able to recognize him if he walked through the door right now," end quote. He's 6'9". It's not like he's just some 6-foot athlete that is just like, oh yeah, I couldn't tell you who he is. He's 6'9". There's not a lot of people, and you shouldn't, and that's not even the main thing. I'm stressing that, when you should know going into this who Shawn Oakman is. Now, Baylor spokesman told ESPN that Oakman followed the team in from the field, but never went into the locker room. Instead, the spokesman said Oakman remained in the hallway entrance outside the locker room, and Oakman never addressed the team. Now, there is video of Oakman walking to the locker room, walking to the entrance, but then that's it. The video cuts off. So he is there. He is walking towards, and we really don't know. And I could have sworn, I thought I saw something that said a statement from Seth Russell that said that Shawn Oakman did address the team. But I haven't seen anything since, so I'm guessing that I misread something or it didn't happen. But yeah, it's just ridiculous. Now, I don't have a problem. Now, the Baylor did release another statement saying that Shawn Oakman is not allowed around the team, home or away. He's not allowed to be around the team or the university. So there's that. You know, I don't care. Now, I thought he was going to be in jail. I thought he would be in jail by now. I mean, he was indicted in July by a grand jury on charges of second-degree felony sexual assault. I don't know how long that usually takes, but I could have sworn someone would be in jail by then. I guess not. I guess I don't know how the system works, but it's just ridiculous for Jim Grobe to say that he doesn't know who he is. And we all know that he's just, I think it was one of those reactions where you're caught guilty, but you're trying to play it off, and he just played it off really bad. And you kind of know when that happens, when you played it off really bad, and you're just like, all right, I'm just going to roll with it. It's kind of that situation, because he knows who Shawn Oakman is. He knows what he looks like, and he just didn't want to say, yeah, I screwed up. I think I let him in the locker room. Oh, well. USC is making a change at quarterback. Redshirt freshman Sam Darnold will start against Utah, number 24 Utah, on Friday, taking over for junior Max Brown. Clay Hilton announced on Monday. Now, Brown, who's in his 4th year with the program, was named to start 2 weeks before the season after a lengthy competition, with Darnold. In 3 games, he completed 55 of 87 passes for 474 yards and 2 touchdowns to 2 interceptions. Now, Darnold this is not like his first time getting action in a game. He's been in all 3 games this season. He's coming off the bench, and he's completed 14 of 22 passes for 136 yards and 2 touchdowns to 1 interception. Last bit of news before we go on to some of the rankings. I'm going to talk about my top 7 rankings. Oregon Ducks suffered 2 key injuries. Wide receiver Devin Allen suffered a torn ACL in his left knee on Saturday against Nebraska. Now, for people that don't know Devin Allen, not only is he a speedy wide receiver, he is an Olympian. He finished 5th in the 110-meter hurdles at the Rio Olympics, and he was, this season he's caught 4 passes for 141 yards and a touchdown. This is the 2nd season-ending injury to happen for Allen in his football career. He suffered a torn ACL in the Florida State game in the 2014 Rose Bowl. He rehabbed that injury to return for the 2016 Oregon track season, which led to his Olympic bid. Allen is the 2014 and 2016 NCAA champion in the 110-meter hurdles, as well as the 2014 USA Track and Field 110-meter hurdle champ. And also the Oregon Ducks lost starting left tackle Tyrell Crosby, for the rest of the season with the injured left foot. Now, with the AP Top 25 coming out, there was a lot of movement, A lot of movement. Notre Dame, Ole Miss Ole Miss is still in. Notre Dame is out. A few other teams have dropped off. Now, and that was fine. The AP poll, I like where it's at. Other than Baylor moving up from 21 to 16 after beating 3 not really good teams and struggling against them, they moved up. That's how it works, apparently. The top 10, it's really the top 5, maybe even top 7 that I disagree with in the AP poll. Other than that, when you go up from 15 up, Miami at 15, I like it. Tennessee at 14, it's okay. Florida State at 13, I mean, given what happened, they're still a good team. Louisville is damn one of the best. Let's see, Georgia at 12, that's fine. Wisconsin at 11, I don't know about that. They should probably have dropped off. Texas A&M at 10, I'm okay with that. Washington at 9, Michigan State at 8, I'm fine. Stanford at 7, I'm fine. Okay, it's really the 1 through 6. Alabama at number 1, that should not happen. They should not be number 1. They almost got crushed by Ole Miss, which Ole Miss is the Tennessee of last year, where Tennessee was winning, up late in games and into the fourth quarter and then completely falling. Ole Miss, kind of just a first half team. They'll dominate you in the first half and then they forget to come out in the second half and play football. Alabama, granted, you could say, hey, they made a great comeback. They showed resilience. Jalen Hurts did a good job. Bam, they should deserve to be number 1. I disagree that they should be number 1. Yes, they played some good games already against Ole Miss and USC. But you look at the other teams that have outperformed them in every way possible. Alabama should drop off just 2 spots. I'm putting them at 3. That's it. Nothing major, nothing killer. Now the AP poll has Alabama number 1, Ohio State number 2, Louisville 3, Michigan 4, Clemson 5, and Houston at 6. Here is my top 7, which honestly, not saying I'm right, but I'm just saying that I think a lot of people will agree with this. Ohio State at number 1, Louisville at number 2, and honestly, you could probably switch those 2. I'm okay with either one switching. This is just the way I see it. Ohio State at number 1, Louisville 2, Alabama 3, Houston 4, Clemson at number 5, Michigan at 6, Stanford at 7. And Stanford's already at 7, so that's fine. But I just, round off to 7. The reason was with Ohio State, and this is where we'll move on to our recaps, is Ohio State showed that they just reload. This was a team that was supposed to be rebuilding. I even had in my preseason top 10, I didn't even put them in there. And I'm biting the bullet. I'm taking the wrong on it. I did not even put them in there because they lost half a team to the NFL. I mean, not a lot of teams, even with Ohio State, prestige, not a lot of teams are able to reload, heck, even rebuild after losing half your team to the NFL. Not a lot, and perform the way Ohio State has performed so far. So Ohio State, I believe, is the number 1 team. Maybe, if you want to have 1A, 1B conversation, debate with Louisville and Ohio State, I'm willing to take it on. Because not many can do what Ohio State does. I think it's really just Alabama and Ohio State. That's really it. That can just reload. Now, JT Barrett he did a good job of dominating against Oklahoma. 14 of 20, 152 yards and 4 passing touchdowns. Mike Weber, he showed that he's capable of being number 1. Ezekiel who? No, I'm just joking. But he's capable of being the number 1 back for the Buckeyes. 18 carries, 123 yards. The defense for Ohio State, which really should have been, honestly, the weakness, has shown it can play with the big boys. It dominated Oklahoma. Baker Mayfield didn't know what to do. The O-line for Oklahoma, it definitely has their struggles, but man, they were just manhandled. Marshawn Lattimore is a legit prospect in a few years for Ohio State. He's one of those names you need to keep up there. Ohio State's up there. I mean, they are really, really good, and that's why I have them as my number 1 team. Going on the road, and I think this is what puts them ahead of Louisville, is they've gone on the road against in a hostile environment. Oklahoma, whether Oklahoma is has an 8-5 type of season or they're undefeated, that home environment is one of the toughest to play in. It's a hostile environment in Norman. And Ohio State went in there and dominated. Say what you want about Oklahoma. That is tough to do. Oklahoma doesn't lose at home very often. Nor do they get crushed and dominated at home very often. And Ohio State did just that. That is why I believe they had the upper edge over Louisville. Now, Louisville, because again, you look at the resumes, Ohio State played Bowling Green, and they played, some other FCS school? Or no one big. There's two, Ohio State played Bowling Green and excuse me. So, actually, Ohio State has a better schedule. Bowling Green and Toledo. Both at home, both dominating victories. And Bowling Green, they're pretty solid. Pretty solid. Had one of the best offenses last year. Tulsa, excuse me. I think I might have said Toledo. Tulsa, on the other hand, not so much. But dominated both games, as they should. Louisville takes on the FCS team. Lamar Jackson throws 8 touchdowns and a half. Great, awesome. It's an FCS team. You should dominate them, especially with all the hype Louisville was getting. Then you take on Syracuse, who I believe is getting better. And I do like Syracuse. Get a dominating victory over them. And then you host Florida State, which is still a tough team. Still a tough team. Not taking anything away just because you hosted them and you absolutely crushed them. But I think Ohio State has the yes. So going over to Louisville, Lamar Jackson, he's for real. He's absolutely for real. He is a Heisman leader. It wasn't hype. He's for real. He's got it. He's got the juice. After a couple of weeks of big numbers, I put the hype on pause after the past 2 weeks. Because I was like, it's a weak FCS school. It's Syracuse. He's got serious talent, but I think there are other quarterbacks that are better. Not so much. After a dominating victory against Florida State, there's no doubt in my mind that Louisville and Lamar Jackson are serious contenders for both the national championship and the Heisman Trophy. The Cardinals were up 35-10 at halftime against Florida State and never looked back. Jackson finished 13 of 20, 216 yards, a touchdown and a pick, but also 146 yards and 4 rushing touchdowns on the ground. He's absolutely incredible. To do that against the Florida State defense, which, yes, they lost Derwin James, still tough defense, Jimbo Fisher coaching them. It should not have been a 63-20. This game honestly reminded me of when back in the day when when everybody was playing NCAA football and you created your team, or not created your team, but you played as your team, your dynasty mode, whatever it was. And once you started getting better, you started recruiting those top guys. You started putting victories when you would go against a ranked team. You get victories like 63-20. It was a little unrealistic, but you love beating, especially when you played a rival or somebody and you dominated them. It's kind of what it felt like in this game because you're thinking Louisville's putting 63 points up on Florida State and holding them to 20. What is this? It's a video game. Lamar Jackson is playing like a video game quarterback with the amount of stats he's putting up. But Louisville is for real. Alabama at 3. I believe they deserve to be a top 3 team given what they've done, but I don't believe they are the number 1 team. Houston at number 4. I think they're very talented. The way they dominated Cincinnati, again, it was a close game. Going into the fourth quarter, Cincinnati was actually up, and then Houston made some drives. Obviously got some back-to-back pick sixes. Defense played well on the road at Cincinnati. I believe they're a top 4 team. Clemson, still yet to know who Clemson really is. We don't know who Clemson is. They haven't really played anybody. We don't know where they're at. So that's why I'm putting them at 5 and where they already are. Michigan at 6. It's a little tough to put them ahead of Clemson just because where Clemson really can be compared to where Michigan can be. That's why I have them now. And Stanford at 7 where they're already at. Let's go ahead and make some predictions. But before we do, let's take a quick break for InnerGrind and Patreon.
Today's show is sponsored by InnerGrind. Based out of Houston, Texas, let former Texas State linebacker Michael Rakpo help you reach your fitness and nutrition goals. With personal training classes that start at $40 a session, why not be a part of this rising program? Now, whether your goals are to lose weight, gain muscle mass, find the right off-season program, or even for you ladies out there to get that booty blast, you can do it all with InnerGrind. Not in the Houston area, not a problem. InnerGrind has a program that is personalized just for you. InnerGrind has everything you need to meet your personal and healthy goals. NFL linebackers like Titans Brian Orakpo, Chiefs Derek Johnson, Buccaneers running back Charles Sims, and San Diego Chargers cornerback Craig Mager, along with many other young athletes, have already begun. Find your personalized workout and nutrition plan at InnerGrind.com and call 832-475-2829. That's InnerGrind.com, 832-475-2829. Unleash your inner grind. Hey guys, sorry to interrupt the show, but I want to say first off, thank you for all of your support. Without you, I'd just be some guy talking into a microphone. And I got some amazing news. I recently joined Patreon. And in case you're wondering, Patreon is an amazing way for you to earn some sweet rewards by supporting the Short Sports Show. I promise you, you will love the perks, and your support will help build this show. Go to www.patreon.com/theshortsportshow and view the amazing rewards you would get directly from me to you by donating to the show. The link is in the description, so when you have some time, check it out. And again, thank you for listening and supporting the Short Sports Show. Now back to me rambling on about something.
All right, so we got some predictions now. First game is Thursday night, tomorrow night. Number 5, Clemson taking on Georgia Tech in what should be a really good game. And this somewhat starts to tell us where Clemson's at, where they could play some of these good teams. Now, Georgia Tech is not, like last year where they were really hyped up when they were undefeated and then kind of fell apart. Georgia Tech is still a really good team, and I believe I saw a stat where Clemson hasn't won at Georgia Tech Stadium in 3 or 5 years. They haven't beaten Georgia Tech at Georgia Tech. So this should be a really good game. 6:30 p.m. Central Time on ESPN will be a good game to watch. I won't be able to watch, but I have stats going on, so after the game I can watch it. I'm going with Clemson here, of course. But this is going to be a test to see where Deshaun Watson is, where this Clemson offense can really be, and if they deserve to be in the top 5, or maybe this team is kind of just not there from last year. Maybe last year was their only shot. Who knows? I'm not saying that if they barely win by a touchdown that it's all over, but I am saying that it's going to be tough to beat some better teams when they have to. On Friday, we have USC taking on number 24 Utah at 8 p.m. Central Time on Fox Sports 1. I want to take USC here because I want USC to win this game, but I'm going to go with Utah. I don't know too much about Utah. I know that their secondary is pretty solid. So I'm kind of going on the blind here, but I'm going to go with Utah. On Saturday, not a whole lot of ranked games, but we're going to go ahead and obviously still do the top 25 like we always do. Kent State taking on Alabama, 11 a.m. on the SEC Network. Gee, what a tough game. Alabama. Number 11, Wisconsin taking on number 8, Michigan State at 11 a.m. on the Big Ten Network. How this game isn't on ABC or ESPN or something like that is beyond me, and I really want to watch this game, but I don't have the Big Ten Network, so I'm going to have to go off of notifications on my phone. But I'm taking Michigan State here. I rode with them against last week against Notre Dame, and they did me right. I'm going to do it once more. I think I honestly believe they're better than Wisconsin. I think Wisconsin also got that huge bump like Texas did after beating LSU, that they shouldn't have got that huge of a bump. I think this should put them where they really are and dropped them. They almost lost to Georgia State at home. Georgia State hasn't won a game, a Sun Belt team, and they almost lost at home. Number 12, Georgia taking on number 23, Ole Miss at 11 a.m. on ESPN. This will be a really good game to see how Ole Miss responds back to another heartbreaking loss in a game that they easily could have won. Georgia still working with Jacob Eason, Nick Chubb doing his thing. I'm taking Georgia here, and I hope Georgia wins. Knock off Ole Miss. Get them out of here already. I'm going with Georgia. 13, Florida State against South Florida at 11 a.m. on on ABC. Now, people are already, just going straight up Florida State, right? And probably, Florida State has the better chance of winning. But don't overlook South Florida, ladies and gentlemen. South Florida, they've got something going over there. I don't know what it is, but South Florida is rocking, and I'm very tempted to pick South Florida. I'm very tempted. I feel like they are more hyped for this game than Florida State is. I feel like Florida State is not really in that mode of, all right, we lost, let's show that we can come back and win. I think they're more like, yeah, we lost, let's go beat Florida or South Florida. We should beat them. And I feel like South Florida, on the other hand, is like, if we've got something going here, we're undefeated, we're 3-0. If we beat Florida State, boom, we're up there in the rankings. We got a season. I feel like South Florida's more pumped for this game, but I'm going to go Florida State here by a field goal. Make it 2 field goals. Going with Florida State. Barely, but I'd be happy if South Florida won. Penn State, I'm going for chaos this week, ladies and gentlemen. Penn State going in against number 4, Michigan at 2:30 p.m. on ABC. Going with Michigan. Florida against Tennessee, a very boring game at 2:30 p.m. Central Time on CBS. I'm taking Tennessee here just because Luke Del Rio's not playing, and even if he was playing, Florida's offense is just so bad and so boring. Going with Tennessee. 18 LSU taking on Auburn at 5 p.m. Central Time on ESPN. I am going to take LSU here. Number 6, Houston making its trip down to San Marcos to take on the Texas State Bobcats at 6 p.m. Central Time on ESPNU. I'm going to go tailgating to the game. I'm still hoping to get a game pass. I'm hoping. It's not looking very likely right now, but I will be there for the tailgate. And hopefully, of course, the time, here's the frustrating. I'm going to go on a quick rant about Texas weather. Very frustrating. The time you would like it to rain, or be cooler weather, doesn't happen, right? Yesterday's practice, 102. 102. Right? Texas, whatever, Texas heat, people like to brag about it, and then when they're actually in it, we complain about it. This weekend, starting on Friday, and all through the week, it is supposed to rain. Reason that's a problem is Friday night, we got a high school football game. I don't like a rainy football game. Not right now. And then tailgating, it's not really fun to tailgate if it's raining. Now, if it's misting or a little bit of drops, it's fine. It's cool. We can still have a party. If it's pouring down like a lot of them expect it to be, tailgating isn't much fun. And I think Texas State will still tailgate. I hope so, because I look forward to doing something on Saturday afternoon, and this was my getaway. So I'm hoping it doesn't rain on Saturday or Friday. After that, it can pour down the rest of the week, the rest of the month. I really don't care. I just don't want it to happen this week. A lot of people are coming back. Michael Rakpo is coming back. We'll hopefully talk to him again. Just a quick live interview with him again. We're going to go around. I'm going to make a video tailgating at Texas State. We're going to be passing out some stuff for the show. So if you're in the Central Texas area and want to make the trip down to San Marcos, or you're already in San Marcos, for my San Marcos listeners, come on down to the tailgate. We should be there around 2 or 3. I'm going to tweet it. Follow me on Twitter at Short Sports Show. Now, again, if it's misting, just a little bit of rain or off and on, we're still going. We're still going to be, I don't know what they call it. It's not, when you go to a bar, they go bar hopping, tailgating, what spot hopping? What is it called? I don't know. That's what we're going to be doing. I'm going to have a couple of people with me. Entourage. No, I'm just joking. I agree. I'm going to hear about that. I'm going to be going around the tailgate area and just, mingling with people, passing out some stuff for the show, let them know what it's all about. Got some business cards, of course. You already know how we do it up here. So yeah, but okay, let's talk about the game so you guys actually care about. Going to go with Houston here, of course. But I would love Texas State to do something, but the way they got just straight up slapped around against Arkansas, now that you're going against a much better team in Houston, both sides of the ball, it's going to be a tough one. Going to go with Houston here, but hopefully the Texas State Bobcats can at least just keep it close. Oklahoma State going against number 21 Baylor at 6:30 p.m. Central Time on Fox. I'm going with Oklahoma State here. I think they've got the juice right now. James Washington is really good. Oklahoma State did show some serious defensive flaws though against Pittsburgh. Now Pittsburgh, I was excited the way they were able to play with the up-tempo team. Defensively, they obviously struggled, but offensively, the way they were still able to work with James Conner and get that offense putting up points. Number 10, their wide receiver, I didn't catch his name. He was really good for the Panthers. I'm going to go with Oklahoma State here. Baylor's just struggled. They've showed so many inconsistencies on offense and on defense. Even though defense has really outplayed the offense. Oklahoma State, on the other hand, James Washington for Oklahoma State is an absolute monster. I'm going with Oklahoma State here. Number 3, Louisville taking on Marshall in West Virginia, of course, at 7 o'clock Central Time on CBS Sports Network, taking Louisville. Here's a tough game. Number 7, Stanford at UCLA. 7 p.m. Central Time on ABC. This is a good game, yet a very tough game to pick. Stanford, I want to go with them because of their defense, because of Christian McCaffrey. The quarterback still concerns me. If he can really lead this team. UCLA, on the other hand, Josh Rosen. UCLA can't afford to go 1-3. That would be disastrous. And this is a big game. This puts them right back into the Pac-12 mix to win this game. I want to go Stanford here, but I'm taking UCLA. I want to go Stanford. I want Stanford to win for Christian McCaffrey's sake, but I'm going UCLA. I just think UCLA is going to get it with Josh Rosen. Number 17, Arkansas taking on number 10, Texas A&M at 8 p.m. Central Time on ESPN. Why it's at 8 when it's at Jerry's World in Texas Central Time? Why not 6:30, 7 o'clock? Why are you making it at 8 o'clock? It's ridiculous. If it's on West Coast, I get you're at 8 o'clock Central Time. But you're in Central Time. You're in Texas. Why are you starting kickoff at 8 o'clock? No one does that. No one does that. I don't know why they're doing it. I'm taking Texas A&M here. I think Arkansas, they beat Texas State. They beat they barely beat Louisiana Tech. I think TCU just beat themselves in that game. And I'm not just saying, I'm not biased here as a TCU fan. I think they honestly beat themselves. I don't think Arkansas was a better team. I think TCU just beat themselves, honestly, with a lot of stupid penalties. So I don't think Arkansas is a number 17 team. I don't think they're as good as advertised at undefeated right now. A&M is. Their defense is much better than Arkansas's, and it's going to be the best defense Arkansas has played so far. And offensively, Christian Kirk is able to get it done and a few other weapons. Trey Williams, is that his name? Trey Williams, T. Williams, freshman wide receiver, Texas A&M is making some noise. I like him. I'm going to go with A&M here. And finally, number 9, Washington taking on Arizona, taking the Huskies here as always, my UW Huskies. That game's at 9:30 p.m. Central Time on the Pac-12 Network. Going with UW. Now, first topic, first main thing to talk about. Minnesota Vikings have suffered some terrible luck, right? Oop, not sponsored by them. Adrian Peterson is out at least this week. They're making it seem like he could come back pretty soon. He is out this week. He suffered a torn meniscus. They've already lost Teddy Bridgewater, so they go get Sam Bradford, thinking it's going to save him. He looked pretty good. And then they lose Adrian Peterson. They got the victory over the Green Bay Packers 17-14. And Zimmer said the timetable for Peterson's return is uncertain. He slightly twisted his knee at the end of a 5-yard run, and then it just got stuck under one of the Packers linebackers. And then he was out. Which is bad by the stadium. I don't know if you guys saw the picture of how he had to hobble through the bar area of the stadium so everybody's there, everybody could see him. I don't know. It's a little awkward. It's a little weird. Now, the 2015 NFL rusher had 19 carries, 31 yards last week against the Titans. And then against the Packers, 12 carries, 19 yards. He suffered a devastating knee injury back in 2011, tearing both his ACL and MCL, only to bounce back to rush for over 2,000 yards. Almost had the record. So close. In 2012. Now, the Vikings, they have to turn to Matt Asada and Jerick McKinnon, who combined run for over 1,000 yards in 2014, while Peterson missed 15 games because of the NFL discipline. And Zimmer said, quote, "I have a lot of confidence in those guys. They're both different types of runners, and I think the combination of two can help us." End quote. Now, the injury to Peterson, again, is the latest blow for the Vikings. Bridgewater tore multiple knee ligaments on August 30th, and they got Bradford. The 2-0 sole place in the NFC North. I don't think I didn't fix the helmets up here. That's my fault. My question is, can the Vikings keep it up? Sam Bradford was a capable fill-in for Teddy Bridgewater, at least so far. It's one game. But now losing Adrian Peterson, your 2-star offensive guys are now out. Now everybody's throwing out saying, all right, well, fantasy superstar Stephon Diggs is going to be the guy and they could just rely on him. There's ways in the NFL, it's not like college where you can have that go-to receiver, Amari Cooper, Josh Doxson, a few other those guys, Corey Coleman. You can just have a go-to guy and you just give him the ball 15 plus times and you got a chance to really win the game. NFL, there are ways to lock down your number one guy, and if you don't have anybody else to rely on, your offense sputters and then you're done. Adrian Peterson hopefully could come back this season, but they've already said, and he's really worried more about his career rather than this season, because he already said now that he could get partial surgery, to help fix it just a little bit to get it through this season, but then that could cause problems later for his career, as well as not his career, but walking in general. And then they're also having the complete surgery, and then that would take him out for the entire season. We'll have to see. He is obviously out this week. They made Mike Zimmer came out today, actually this morning, to say he's out this week. That was a given. Now, if anything's more than that, something to be concerned about. Hopefully, Adrian Peterson's able to make a good return, not only for this season but for his rest of his career. Where is Adrian Peterson? Are the Vikings lost without Adrian Peterson? It's tough. They weren't the only one. We'll go through these pretty quickly, but the San Diego Chargers, they lost Danny Woodhead for the rest of the season after a torn ACL, which sucks. The Chargers now have to lean on Melvin Gordon, rookie running back Kenneth Farrow from Houston, and Andre Williams. The Chargers had lost Brandon Oliver at the beginning of the season, during preseason, after he tore his Achilles, and now they're off of them. Woodhead is gone. DeMarcus Ware, he undergoes surgery for the Denver Broncos on Tuesday after on his fractured right forearm and is expected to miss 4 to 5 weeks. They kept him out of nearly everything in the preseason and the offseason so he wouldn't get hurt. 2 games in, and he's out. The Seattle, or actually, hold on, we got some other injury news, I think. No, we'll make that a video. Let's see. Dallas Cowboys defensive end Randy Gregory, he withdrew his appeal of a 10-game suspension for multiple violations of the NFL substance abuse policy, and now will be suspended for 14 games in full through week 14. So that means he won't be eligible to play until week 15. Yikes. The Seattle Seahawks and coach Pete Carroll were fined by the NFL after the league announced on Monday that Seattle will have to forfeit its 2017 fifth-round draft choice for violating the NFL's rule against on-field physical contact during an organized team activity in June. The Seahawks were fined $400,000, while Carroll was fined $200,000. And the Seahawks will also have to forfeit the first week of the OTAs, covering 3 days in 2017. The Seahawks will be paid. Players will be paid for the canceled sessions, though, so that's good for the players. Just sucks for the team. Apparently, the violation occurred from an OTA session on June 6th when the NFL and the NFLPA independently reviewed an on-the-field video of the practice before agreeing that the Seahawks violated the non-contact rule. The violation occurred when 2 players who were not wearing helmets collided and hit their heads when their heads hit each other. Now, in notifying the Seahawks of the discipline, the NFL cited Appendix G of the collective bargaining agreement, which states, quote, voluntary off-season workout programs are intended to provide training, teaching, and physical conditioning for players. The intensity and tempo of the drills should be at a level conducive to learning, with player safety at the highest priority and not at a level where one player is in physical contest with another player, end quote. Now, this isn't the first time Pete Carroll nor the Seattle Seahawks have been fined by the NFL or disciplined. This is actually the 3rd time they've been penalized for breaking the no-contact rules. In 2014, the Seahawks were fined $300,000 and lost practice time the next year for violating the rule during a mandatory minicamp. And in 2012, Carroll and the Seahawks were fined for an undisclosed amount and forfeited 2 OTAs the next season for violating the rule. Come on, man. Really? Just trying to just cheat the system, huh? No, it's really kind of weird why they would just go, I don't know. I don't know. I'm not saying the NFL did anything wrong. I mean, I guess rules are the rules, and Pete Carroll and the staff just kind of try to squeak by it. Do you think after 2 times you say, all right, maybe we shouldn't do this anymore? But I guess once you get paid a couple million, 200,000 is just, a couple change. It's just change in your pocket. 200,000. 200,000. Now the main topic for this week is Bears quarterback Jay Cutler. He left the third quarter of Monday night's 29-14 loss to the Philadelphia Eagles and was criticized for pulling himself out the game because he had an injury to his right thumb and did not return. Now, he wore a protective cast on his right hand at the post-game news conference and said he would undergo further tests yesterday and find out he's going to be out a couple weeks. Now, Cutler said he aggravated the thumb injury earlier in the game and couldn't really grip the ball, in which he said contributed to throwing an interception to Eagles linebacker Nigel Bradham with 36 seconds left in the quarter. I don't know about that, because that was just a bad throw. I get it. Throwing the ball, if you can't grip it with your thumb, try gripping the ball like that, basically, without a thumb. It's not easy to do. But, this wasn't a throw that was behind the receiver. There wasn't even a receiver. The receiver was a good 3 or 5 yards behind Nigel Bradham. It was just, whoop, lobbed right up to Nigel, and he ends up taking the interception. Now, it turned out that it would be his final play. He was replaced by Brian Hoyer. Now, before that, Cutler completed 12 of 17, 157 yards, and 1 interception. He also lost a fumble, but that was more on the offensive line, as he's been in the league for 11 years. And Cutler's missed 15 games because of injuries since 2010. 15 games. Is it time for the Bears to move on from Jay Cutler? Now it's tough because you look at the first quarter against the Eagles, looked really good, finding Alshon Jeffrey for some big throws. And the same thing for the first half against the Houston Texans back in week 1. Jay Cutler looked really good. The Bears offense looked really good against the Texans in the first half and against the Eagles in the first quarter. And then the offense dies, and so does Jay Cutler, and so does that offensive line. The offensive line for the Chicago Bears has been disastrous since the time Jay Cutler's been there. It's been bad. And I'm not putting all the blame on the offensive line and taking it off of Jay Cutler, because Jay Cutler's made some terrible throws, made some terrible decisions, and this is not the first time he's took himself out of a game in which he was criticized by even some of his teammates. I think that's what the argument with McAfee, the defensive lineman for the Bears, who started yelling at Jay Cutler and got in an argument. So now the locker room's already with Jay Cutler. The media's already in with Jay Cutler. The Bears fans already in with Jay Cutler. So is it time for the Bears to just move on from Jay Cutler? Is it time for the Bears to look in the first round of the draft, wherever they end up, whether it's number 1 or it's 10? I'm not going to go anything higher than that. Is it time for the Bears to look at a quarterback? It's weird because, again, you look at Jay Cutler in this offense the first 2 weeks, in the first half, in the first quarter, and it looks really well. Alshon Jeffrey is an elite wide receiver. He's really good. But this offensive line is so bad that it's tough to put a lot of blame on Jay Cutler. Even though it's fun to make fun of Jay Cutler. It's fun to attack Jay Cutler, and not attack. Okay, that's a bad word. But it's fun to make fun of Jay Cutler and stuff like that. But at the same time, you have to look at it and say a lot of this blame is to that offensive line. It's bad. Now, the Houston Texans game, that's more the Texans defense doing a really good job. But the offensive line still did pretty poorly. Right tackle number 70 he's garbage. But, the Eagles defense is not the best in the league. struggle against them, that's where more of the issues come. My belief is I think they should get a quarterback. They should have already got one last draft. Maybe Connor Cook in the 3rd or 4th round. But I'm thinking they really need to focus on upgrading that offensive line and then maybe get a quarterback later. Now, again, if they're a top 3 pick and you got Deshaun Watson, Deshaun Kaiser, Brad Kai, I think is more of like a mid first rounder. It's a good work them out, definitely. But what's to say they won't have the same problems if you can't upgrade that offensive line? 2 off-duty Philadelphia police officers injured in a February bar fight involving Buffalo Bills running back LaShawn McCoy filed a lawsuit Tuesday morning against former NFL rushing leader in the Philadelphia court common pleas. Now, to make this real quick and simple, the civil lawsuit marks the latest step in a legal battle that has been previously gone all the way to the Pennsylvania Attorney General's office, but failed to result in any criminal charges against McCoy or anyone else because Williams said that the time that it's legal to act in self-defense or defense of others, saying that, he shouldn't be criminally charged for the incident. And now it's back ongoing again. Apparently it's back to having another battle with LaShawn McCoy. Tampa Bay Buccaneers running back Doug Martin is expected to miss 3 weeks because of a hamstring injury. He entered the game against the Arizona Cardinals in the first quarter and did not return. So they'll have to rely on Charles Sims, who is, in case you guys didn't know, is also with InnerGrind. Yes, Tampa Bay Buccaneers running back Charles Sims. It did work out with Michael Rakpo, was training with them at the InnerGrind facility this offseason, so it's working for him. Charles Sims will be the new starting running back. Also, Jaquiz Rogers, who was recently signed, is going to be starting. And they did, the Buccaneers offense struggled, man. It struggled badly. Detroit Lions, they lost their running back as well for the foreseeable future. He's placed on IR now. Now, they don't have to set a designation return, so just because he's on IR doesn't mean he's out for the entire season. It also doesn't mean that he's out, that he's out until week 8 or something. Or I think it is till week 8, but it means he still can return to the team. He was the number 1 running back. He gained 101 yards and 18 carries this season. He also caught 5 passes for 57 yards and a touchdown. There was no broken bones, and he did seek a second opinion yesterday, and then today they obviously placed him on IR. So it's going to be bad. But they have Theo Reddick, who did really good last week 1. You also have rookie Dwayne Washington and second-year pro Zach Zinner, who have roles. And he also worked out former running back Joique Bell on Tuesday. He hasn't signed with the team yet, but possibly could. The last 3 things we have before we do our predictions. Now, obviously, again, a police officer cannot do their job. And we have all now seen the video of Terrence Crutcher, who was shot and killed for doing absolutely nothing. Once again. So, Colin Kaepernick, of course, is been kneeling and apparently has said that he has his life threatened as a response to the protest of racial oppression and inequality in the United States by kneeling during the national anthem. Kaepernick said Tuesday that he's received threats via a couple of different avenues, in quote, in addition to social media. He seemed mostly non-pulsed by the threats, saying he hasn't reported any of them to the 49ers security team. And he went on to say, quote, "To me, if something like that were to happen, you're proving my point. And it will be loud and clear for everyone why it happened, and that it would move this movement forward at a greater speed than what it is even now. Granted, I don't want it to happen, but that's the realization of what could happen. And I knew there were other things that came along with this when I first stood up and spoke about it. That's not something I haven't thought about," end quote. Now, last week I talked about how I wanted, that I didn't really agree with him kneeling, especially during 9/11. because I wanted him to see, what I really wanted to see was action, not just talk, not just kneeling. I wanted to see action. And he has done that. And is going to continue to do that. Kaepernick has already pledged to donate the first $1 million he makes this season to charities that will help communities in need. He added a little more about the progress on that Tuesday, saying he intends to donate $100,000 per week over the next 10 weeks to organizations he chooses to work with. Now, right there got me thinking, okay, that's just that normal political, PC type stuff, and it's just politically correct stuff. And, he says that we'll never really see if he actually does it. Well, not so fast. Kaepernick says his team is building a website that shows where the money is going, shows how much is being spent, and he hopes that it offers people the chance to donate as well. All right, that's action. That's what I wanted to see. That is what I want to see. Players kneeling, yes, you get people talking about it. You get media to talk about it. 90% of the time, no action is taken. Raising your fist, kneeling, whether you have your hand over your heart or not, does not make action. It does make talk, but talk is also very cheap. But what Kaepernick is doing and what his team is working on, building the website to show where the money's going, showing how much is spent, and working with other organizations, that is what I wanted to see. That is what I want to see. So I'm all, of course, in favor of Kaepernick because I wanted to see action. And that's what I'm seeing. Now, former Seattle Seahawks running back Marshawn Lynch supported Kaepernick's stance during an appearance on Conan last night, on Tuesday night. I want you to hear what he had to say.
Colin Kaepernick has, lots of opinions out there about what he is doing, taking a knee during a national anthem. What are your thoughts? I really respect your opinion. What do you think?
Well, I mean, with what's going on, I'd rather see him take a knee than stand up, put his hands up, and get murdered. So, I mean, my take on it is it got to start somewhere, and if that was the starting point, I just hope people open up their eyes to see that it's really a problem going on, and something needs to be done for it to stop. And, I mean, if you're really not racist, then you won't see what he's doing as a threat to America, but just addressing the problem that we have.
Right. Not a threat to the game, not a threat to America. All right. I'm with you on that.
Now, the Oakland Raiders had no comment on the East Bay Times report Tuesday night that an investment group tied to the Pro Football Hall of Famer Ronnie Lott, wants to purchase the Oakland Coliseum and its surrounding lands in hopes of keeping the team in Oakland. Now, the Raiders, after what they have described as 8 years of failed negotiations to get a new stadium in Oakland, have their sights set on moving to Las Vegas, and if the Southern Nevada gaming capital can come through with a new dome stadium. And so far, looks like they should be able to. An oversight committee in Las Vegas has recommended to Nevada Governor Brian Sandoval a $750 million hotel tax to pay for the $1.9 billion stadium, and it was approved. The Raiders could contribute $500 million, which includes a loan from the NFL, while the family of Sheldon Adelson, chairman of Las Vegas Sands Corporation, a casino and resort outfit, has pledged another $650 million. This is actually might happen. The Raiders might be moving to Las Vegas. I'm not a fan of Las Vegas. I don't know. If I'm going to go somewhere in Las Vegas, yeah, probably. Now I'm probably picking, elsewhere. But we could potentially be seeing the Las Vegas Raiders. Now this company with Ronnie Lott, or at least it's tied to Ronnie Lott, buying Oakland Coliseum, I'd rather just go purchase some other land and build a brand new Oakland Coliseum, a new stadium. Because Oakland Coliseum, it's done. Just like Qualcomm Stadium for San Diego, both of those stadiums should not be hosting an NFL team anymore. Now, I'm not saying that, all these stadiums have to be future, or modernized and then, big fancy like we see with the Vikings and the Falcons coming up. What I'm saying is it shouldn't have leaking roofs and where they're putting bubble gum and scotch tape to stop it. That's what the Raiders are doing. There's pictures of it. I'm serious. I'm not just making it up. I'm not joking around. There's pictures of gum and tape and like these little cotton balls to stop water leakage. We're in the press box. That's bad. That's holding an NFL team. I don't care if the Raiders stay in Oakland or not. I would like them to see them stay in Oakland. But they definitely need a brand new stadium. That's for sure. Last bit of news before we do our predictions and wrap up the show. Our top 10 power rankings. I want to go ahead and just do some, right? Let's go ahead and do some. Number 10. We're going to start at 10-1. The Green Bay Packers. Them losing to the Vikings, them barely beating the Jacksonville Jaguars, concerns me a little bit. The offensive line played pretty poorly. Now, the Vikings defense looks really good, which leads me to number 9, and that's the Minnesota Vikings. It was tough to put these teams at 9 and 10 because you look at the Packers, well, they lost to the Vikings, right? And they didn't look that well. But then the Vikings lose Adrian Peterson, and they've already lost Teddy Bridgewater. So are they really a top 10 team? The defense is definitely one of the best. They're up there with the Broncos as a top defense. They're really good. So keeping hope alive for the Vikings. At number 8, I'm putting the Cardinals there. Number 7, I'm putting the New York Giants. I really like where they're headed. Number 6 is the Cincinnati Bengals. Number 5 is the New England Patriots. The Patriots would have been higher. Really one spot higher at number 4. If Jimmy Garoppolo didn't get hurt. Now that he's hurt, and now even though they're trying to force him to play, I'm still dropping him because I think Jacoby Brissett is going to be the guy to play. And unless he shows me something that none of us have seen, Patriots still a top 5 team because once Brady comes back, they're looking pretty good. They're in a good spot. 2-0 already. Should be 1-1, but 2-0. They're in a good spot. They're in a good spot. They win one more game, and if they could go 3-1 or 4-0, and Brady returns, it's going to be a very boring AFC division or conference. And number 4 is the Houston Texans. Now, I've been not a hater of the Texans, just not a believer in the Texans. But the defense shows that it is one of the best in the NFL. And Will Fuller is shocking. I not really want to say shocking, but is outperforming a lot of rookie wide receivers that I didn't think he would. He was a first rounder, but I thought Josh Doxson was better. I thought Corey Coleman was a little bit better. There's another receiver. I'm forgetting his name. First round wide receiver. Can't think of it. Corey Coleman, Josh Doxson, and somebody else I believe was better. Obviously not because I can't remember his name. But Will Fuller is just, there's no such thing as separation. Or actually, no, there is separation speed on him, but there's no such thing as a cushion for a DB with Will Fuller. I don't know how many times I've gone back and watched film on him to see that he is breaking 9 yards cushion off a DB and just outrunning them. Just not even there. What concerns me about him, though, if he can keep it up, is his catches. He drops a lot of passes. And even some of the catches he had, like one of the big catches last week against the Chiefs, it was a big catch, but he bobbled it. It almost looked like he was about to drop it. That concerns me. Concerns me a little bit, but he's doing obviously a great job and is in the lead for Rookie of the Year. Brock Osweiler is doing really well. Still don't think he's worth that much money, but he's getting the job done. That's all I need. And just like my defense coordinator at San Marcos High School, Coach Rod, is saying, all that matters is getting to the next win, getting 3-0. Doesn't matter who they play. And the Patriots, facing them at a bad time, but the Texans should go 3-0 against the Patriots on Thursday night. And then we got the Panthers at number 3. Steelers at number 2. A lot of people have the Steelers at number 1. I have them at number 2 just because the Broncos are the number 1 team. The defense is clearly the best in the NFL. Offensively, yes, they have their struggles, but this defense it's so great that they will either put points on the board for the defense or create more opportunities for that offense to get out there more than any other team. And therefore, by just common sense, at some point the Broncos will get their offensive going, and Trevor Siemian will be able to put points on the board. That is my top 10. Agree or disagree with them? Tweet me at Short Sports Show. Become a fan on Facebook, The Short Sports Show. Last bit as we wrap up the show. Just a little over an hour. Not bad. Prediction time. Thursday Night Football on CBS and Twitter. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, you will be able to stream the game live for free on Twitter. The Houston Texans taking on the New England Patriots at 7:25 p.m. Central Time on CBS and Twitter. On Twitter. Yes, you can watch it on Twitter. It's going to be kind of cool. Again, I won't be able to watch it, but that is kind of cool to watch a NFL game streamed live on Twitter. It's going to be interesting how you can tweet about the game and still watch it at the same time. I hope TweetDeck can also work too with it. I doubt they can. I don't know. It's going to be cool. I'm going with the Houston Texans just because Jimmy Garoppolo shouldn't play. And even if he does, one hit by J.J. Watt or Whitney Merciless is enough to take him out the game. Not saying it's going to be dirty. It's just how big they are and how strong they are and how much pain Jimmy Garoppolo will be in. He's not going to be able to throw the ball. And once he does, it's probably going to be a pick. I'm taking the Texans here to win this game by a touchdown. I think it'll still be close, actually. The Cardinals against the Bills. I'm taking the Cardinals. Raiders against the Titans, going with the Raiders. Browns against the Dolphins, going with the Dolphins. Ravens against the Jaguars. Even though the Jaguars completely stunk up San Diego and somehow got crushed by my Chargers, I'm taking the Jaguars here. I don't think the Ravens... No, I'm taking the Jaguars here. I think they'll bounce back. Lions against the Packers, going with the Packers. Broncos against the Bengals, a very good game. Bengals, even though they lost against the Steelers last week, they played a great game against them. Dalton looked good. Green looked good. Defense looked good for the Bengals, just not enough to get the job done. I am taking the Broncos, though, on this one. Vikings against the Panthers, going with the Panthers. Redskins going against the Giants, going with the Giants. Rams against the Buccaneers, going with the Rams. No, going with the Buccaneers, even though they got crushed against the Cardinals. Going with the Buccaneers. 49ers against the Seahawks, going with the Seahawks. Jets against the Chiefs, going with the Chiefs. Chargers against the Colts, going with the Colts. Steelers against the Eagles, going with the Steelers. Sorry, TP. And Bears against Cowboys, going with the Cowboys on Sunday Night Football on NBC at 7:30 p.m. Central Time. And finally, on Monday Night Football, which this might be kind of boring. Falcons against the Saints. I'm going with the Falcons here, just because Julio Jones. And no. Screw that. Scratch that. Going with the Saints. Yeah. Much more complete team. 7:30 p.m. Central Time on ESPN Monday Night Football. Saints. That is it for today's show. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, be sure to hit that like button, whether you're listening on iHeartRadio, iTunes, Spreaker.com, Stitcher Radio, wherever it might be. Thank you guys so much for listening. As always, God first, God bless. I will see you guys next week. Again, if you're in the Central Texas area, I will be at the tailgate for Texas State football when they host Houston Cougars this Saturday. For around 2 or 3 o'clock, I'll be there until game time. So, see me there. Let me know. Let me pass the stuff out. As always, God first, God bless. I'm out. Peace.